Hi, so I'm Nicolette, as some of you know, and I've been a volunteer at META for around 9 years. And I originally started because my brother, you might know him, Noah. And so now I am a rising sophomore at UC Berkeley, and my intended major is psychology. But like I'm on the fence. I mean, it's not that important that you should know your major right now because you can always change it. But as of right now, I am in psychology. So, all right. So, shall we get started? Can you, Pastor Steve, can you share the screen for like the handout, or does everybody have it already? Okay, there we go. All right. So, there are many different aspects to the college application process. And I made this handout so that you guys can refer to it throughout your senior or throughout your high school career, really. And so just as a preface, all of this can be different for each student because it really depends on what school you go to and what year you're in. So just know that in advance. But okay, so let's start with number one, which is your academic profile. And it's not really called that. Usually you'll know it as your transcript, but there are some things that certain schools don't and do include in their transcripts. So I'm just going to speak from my personal experience. And by the way, I graduated high school from Marvin Ridge High School, so anybody who's going to Marvin can probably relate. But if you go to a different school, most of this will be the same, but there can be some differences, so just keep that in mind. Okay, so for your academic profile, this includes your transcript, which will have your grades and the courses that you took at school. It will usually include your GPA and possibly your school ranking if your school does that. So your academic profile will be sent from your school in the form of a transcript to whichever college you are applying to. And so just keep in mind that they can see everything that's on your transcript. A lot of students know College Board and they comment on it as like having the ability to withdraw some information, but your transcript is something that they will definitely see. And I believe the way that for you to request your transcript to be sent to whatever college or colleges that you're applying to is through your counselor, or you can ask usually your front desk at your school, and you can ask for a request to send your transcript to whichever college. My suggestion is you should probably ask your counselor because it's like a one-on-one, whereas the people in your front desk might be like volunteers and such, so just keep that in mind. And number two, for standardized testing. Okay, so you guys probably know the SAT and the ACT. Hopefully you're familiar with that, seniors. But freshmen and sophomores and juniors, you may start to hear more about these standardized tests more and more. So there are usually, I've only heard of these two standardized tests that are requested from most colleges. So the first one is the SAT, and that's directly from College Board, as you know. And then the second one is from it's a different company, which is also called ACT, but the standardized test is the ACT. And there are some differences, and there are a lot of different websites and workbooks that you can use to help aid you in mastering these standardized tests. So hopefully seniors, I kind of tailored this handout for seniors, but it's okay, it's totally okay if you're not. So seniors, by now, it's recommended that you have already tried out these standardized tests that are requested by most of these colleges. The reason is not for you to get like a perfect score or whatever score that you're reaching for, but really just to get the feel of what standardized tests are for you and what kind of information is on those standardized tests. So, but if you haven't received a score that you're satisfied with, or you haven't even tried one of these standardized tests, it's not a problem. A lot of students will start their testing in their senior year, but it's probably recommended that you have tried it in junior year at least. And for those who are not seniors and are in their like early high school ages, I would probably recommend start studying for them maybe the summer upcoming to your junior year. That's usually when most students start, and that's when I started studying for my standardized tests. So it'll give you plenty of time to get used to it. And let's say once you've received a score that you're satisfied with, you're going to submit your standardized test score, whether it's the ACT or the SAT, through College Board or Coalition. So College Board is what created SAT, so you can send your scores directly into your Common App or to wherever school that you're applying to. And Coalitions is kind of something similar to Common App. Common App is pretty much like not partners, but pretty much partners with College Board. So that's what most students use, but I've heard of students using Coalition as well. So I included a link just in case you couldn't find it, because I remember I was having a hard time finding exactly where to send my scores through College Board. So that's the place. All right, so number 3, extracurricular activities. Okay, so I was originally going to put extracurricular activities a little lower in this handout than number 3, but as of late, so after the pandemic, during the pandemic, this awkward transition time, extracurricular activities have become one of the most important things because it helps you stand out in your college application, because you can diversify yourself from other applicants, because during the pandemic, you can't really go out and stuff, so they're trying to see what your passions are and how passionate you're about these things, so that you're not the one waiting for things to come to you. You're the one trying to make opportunities happen. So that's what they want to see. They want to see ambitious students. So extracurricular activities have become way more important than they used to be known for, in my opinion. A lot of websites will say it's just as important as standardized tests or a little less, but in my opinion, nowadays it's really important. And so yeah, so it's recommended to have 1 main extracurricular activity and 2 to 3 other subset extracurricular activities that their interests and your passions. So what I mean by the 1 main extracurricular activity, it's something that represents your hobby and your talents best. So I had around 2 main extracurricular activities, but one is sufficient. It's totally fine. And then 2 to 3 other subset could be like school clubs, not including competitions, but school clubs. It could be like a sports team, etc. And so yeah, I think of extracurricular as one of the most important things. So make sure you look into that. Okay, so number 4, AP and IB scores. Another preface, I was an AP student. I never took IB courses, so I'm not really sure how this entire IB system works, but I'll try my best to explain the AP process. So if you haven't taken any AP or IB courses, this information doesn't pertain to you. It's not that important, so you'll be fine. Okay, and so for AP classes, you would have received your scores. I'm guessing maybe if you haven't taken any AP classes in junior or sophomore year and you're planning to take them in senior year, that's totally fine. You'll just have to wait for your scores to come in. You can always send them after you have applied, because that was the case for a lot of students at my school, where they would take more AP classes in senior year, and the date of the test for the AP testing was after the day of when the application deadline was due, so you can always submit it afterwards as well. And okay, so here it says your AP scores will be sent directly through your College Board. There's another link similar to the Send Your Scores, where it's kind of like a database that College Board has, where you can send your AP scores directly through it. So kind of like a tip to keep in mind is you get 1 free AP score submission if you decide to send your score to your college before June 20th, but after the June 20th deadline, or if you have more than 1 AP score to send, you'll be subject to a $15 fee for every other AP score you decide to send. Not every other, but every other AP score you decide to send. So this is when I looked into it, this is a similar process for the IB program as well. You're going to have to send your transcript and your IB certificate through their designated website. They have an IB website, so that's where you would similarly send it to as well. Okay, so that's AP scores and IB scores. Let's move on to number 5, which is essays, which is another really important thing. I put an emphasis on extracurricular activities and essays, and the reason being is because to these admissions people, without these extracurricular activities or without these essays, you're just a number to them technically, because they just see your SAT score, your GPA, your AP scores, and it's just a bunch of numbers in your name, really, your demographic perhaps. But your extracurricular activities and essays really do make an impact on showing what kind of person and what kind of student you are. So if you're going to apply to colleges through Common App or the Coalition, you are required to write an essay according to one of their prompts. I think they had around like 10 prompts. I'm not so sure though. Around 10 prompts, you could choose one, and your essay must be less than or equal to the word count that the application requests. And what I mean by application, I mean like the application platform, aka like the Common App or the Coalition. So you mustn't exceed it because they won't read past that certain number of words. So if there was some really big moral at the end of the essay, they won't be able to read that. They won't count it. So typically the word count will be around 600 to 650 words, so make sure you stay within those boundaries. So your essay is required so that colleges have an opportunity to learn who you are instead of guessing what your talents and your passions are through the set of numbers and statistics that you will also send to the college in the form of grades, standardized tests, and other test scores, like I said before. Okay, so if you're not going to apply to colleges through the Common App or the Coalition, most likely you will be applying to your college, that designated college, through their direct website. So this was the case for me. So I didn't only apply to UC schools, but I applied to other schools using Common App and the Coalition. And but I really wanted to go to UC school because it was in California. I thought it was really cool. But now I know a lot more than this about the system. So I had to apply to the UC system through the UC system website. There's like a different website. A lot of the colleges will be on Common App and Coalition, but in the case of UC schools, it was not. So make sure you research about how you apply to that particular college that you're interested in. So they'll have their own application website, and you're going to have to abide by their specific prompts and rules for their unique essays. So yes. So okay, next, moving promptly along, number 6, teacher recommendations. Okay, this sounds really stressful, but I promise you it isn't, as long as you were a good student at school. So many colleges will require or request optional teacher recommendations. I would say most colleges require them, but even if they request it, it's probably better if you submit teacher recommendations than not. So technically, you may send up to however many you like. For certain colleges, I think they put a limit, but technically you're allowed to, but it's recommended that you stay within 2 to 4 teacher recommendations. You don't want to bore them out with teacher recommendations. So around 2 to 4 is good. It's best to, so one of the most stressful things for me, because I'm a socially anxious person usually, was asking my teachers to write a recommendation for me. I don't know why I was so nervous to ask my teachers, even though I was going to ask teachers that showed my work ethic and my personality. The best time to ask your teachers, this is a tip, this is really important, the best time to ask your teachers is in person. Please do not send an email because it doesn't come across as, genuine or like that you really want it. So it's better to ask them in person and at a time that is not class hours, not even if it's like a break or whatnot, probably before school technically starts. So if you are allowed to arrive early, that would be a good time, or maybe even after school. And something that's really important is to ask them as early in the year as possible, because you have to remember that you are not the only one who are asking for teacher recommendations. So so if you think about however many students are in your grade or was in that class, they're all going to want to ask for teacher recommendations. So it's best to ask them as early as possible. It's kind of like first come, first serve without it's like subconscious, like on the down low, it's a first come, first serve, because it's impossible for teachers to write around 30 teacher recommendations that are tailored for each student. So ask them as early in the year as possible. This is only pertaining, obviously, to junior year teachers and sophomore year teachers. You can ask senior year teachers, but a lot of them will say they will not write recommendations because they haven't learned about you. I've had many teachers in my senior year say that they will not write recommendations. So do not rely on senior year teachers. Rely mostly on junior year, and if you want to, really, if you have a really good teacher, sophomore year and freshman year, if you were to ask your freshman year teachers, I mean, it's allowed, but probably not the best representation of you going into college, because it was like 4 years ago. Maybe you haven't matured as much as you have since ninth grade. So it's better to ask your teachers from junior year and sophomore year. And another pro tip, it doesn't hurt to bring them a gift. I brought my teachers gifts, not just because I wasn't like bribing them, but I mean, they appreciate it. They're your teachers. So, and a lot of other students will do as well. It kind of feels weird if you don't bring a gift and ask for only a teacher recommendation. So, yep. And make sure that the teacher that you're going to ask for a recommendation for is one that knows your personality, your work ethic, and the passions that you have shown to them throughout class hours. So, yep. Okay, number 7. Okay, yes. So number 7, counselor recommendations. So similarly to teacher recommendations, counselor recommendations are usually required or requested as optional for many colleges. You will receive a counselor recommendation usually after you meet with your counselor. So from my school, Marvin Ridge High School, I think they automatically signed you up for a appointment with your counselor. And even if you don't know your counselor that well, you're gonna have to meet up with them because it's like automatic. And they try to learn as much as you can in like that 5 minutes that they see you. So it's probably that appointment time was around like maybe a month before applications were due, just so that they could get counselor recommendations faster. But what I would recommend is early, very, very early in your senior year, like first day, go meet your counselor, make as many appointments as you can with your counselor so that you get to know them and they can write a really good tailored recommendation just for you. So make sure you stand out from all the other students, because they all have to have counselor recommendations. So I didn't mention this with the teacher recommendations, but it's the same thing. In your Common App or Coalition, if you want to add like a recommendation, there's like a little tab on the side or maybe on the top where it says recommendations or recommenders, and you can add however many recommenders that you want. So they can be teachers or counselors, and it can be like outside recommenders. I had a outside recommender, so it can be whoever you would like. It can be Pastor Steve. It can be anybody who is like, who has known you and can help you throughout your Common App. I think there are restrictions to who you can ask. It can't be like a family member or something. You'll have to research those restrictions for yourself, but that's how you add your recommendations. So you can do it directly. Okay, number 8, college interviews. Okay, so I did a couple college interviews and they were really helpful. Interviews are a really scary word in general. It's a very scary concept, but I remember my first college interview, I was so nervous. You don't need to be nervous. They are usually alumni from those colleges who live in an area around you. So say, for example, your neighbor came from NC State, and you wanted to get a college interview from NC State, if they have the time, the schedule, and like the openings for interviews, then they would be the ones interviewing you. So it depends on where you live and how many people are alumni around you. So most college interviews are not required, but they can be recommended to see in person what type of student you are. You can sign up for college interviews in a variety of ways. For me, I did it through email. I just was looking through my email, and some colleges was asking if I would like to sign up for a college interview, so I was like, yep. Or it can be on the college's website. Make sure you prepare for these college interviews and to show what type of student you are. Remember, they are trying to see if you are a fit for their school. So they're alumni. They know what the UC Berkeley or whatever school they were looking for. So I made sure to tailor my passions just for that school and what I would show them, will be able to show them. Okay, and then lastly, special talents. Okay, so this isn't anything that important, but if you have any special talents, including, like most of them are about art, music, or in the sports department, you can submit certain portfolios. A lot of, this is kind of like, not a rare case, but it can happen with if you want to go to an art school, or if you're majoring in art or anything like that for music or even sports. I didn't do this because I'm not talented in any of those departments, but if you are, then you may be requested to submit certain portfolios based on those special talents. So make sure to see what those rules are and regulations are. And in this case, if you are one of these cases, make sure to select pieces or statistics, in the case of sports, that will show how you will benefit their school with your talents and ambitions. And yes, that was the general overview of a college application process.
All right, thank you so much, Nicolette. It was really informative and beneficial. And if you guys have questions, now it is your time to ask her questions, and we'll try our best to answer your questions. You can unmute your mic and.
I have a question.
Yes.
So, like, does any of the colleges require, like, do they have classes like math or like language arts?
In college, or do
Yeah.
they require as like
No,
unit?
like in college.
In college, oh yes. So there are general courses that you need to take. It's kind of similar to high school or middle school, where you have to take your common core. That's what it's called, common core courses. So math, English, science, and social studies. Those are generally what you need to take. But they are a lot less restrictive. So meaning like they're not demanding you take this math class. You can choose like different math classes pertaining to your major. So say for example, I was a computer engineer, right? And I needed to take a math class. There are general math classes you need to take, like calculus, for example, but as you go on through college, you're gonna have to take those math classes as well. And so you can maybe take a math class about coding or computers or something like that that pertains to your major. So, yeah.
Okay, and I have another question.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, for me in high school, like, I take IEP classes, like you probably
Mm-hmm.
know a little bit, but do they have some kind of those in college or no?
So it depends on every college. I think some colleges will look for students who take IEP classes or courses, and so that's nothing to fear. It really depends on the college though. So you'll have to research on their college website to see if they will allow you to like be accepted into their school. Because the reason why is not because you're not talented or they don't think you're a good fit for this school, is because they sometimes won't have classes that are dedicated to IEP class takers. So yeah, it really depends on the college that you're looking to sign. Yeah.
Mm.
Okay. And before we go on to another question, Noah Beck, I saw you joined in, and if you can share your phone number with us, I can send you the handout. All right. So just you can share your information on the chatting, the section right here, or you can just maybe I have my phone number. You can just text me your phone number, 704-860-1388. Once again, 704-860-1388. And you guys can also ask questions in Korean because Nicolette is fluent in Korean and English. So 한국어로
Kind
질문
of.
있으신 분은 한국말로 질문해 주셔도 괜찮습니다. All right. We're gonna do one question per person, and then once everyone is done, then you can ask another question. Is it fair? Okay. All right. So next question.
I just had one quick question. For the extracurricular activities, normally I'm always told that like you should volunteer for something or like go to a nonprofit organization or something like that. Would a job also count as an extracurricular activity? Like, let's say I was trying to get into art. I work
Mm-hmm.
at like a uh, there's this one place that I know where they do art classes, and let's say I volunteer there. Would that be counted as an extracurricular?
Yep, yep. Jobs are kind of like a different subset of extracurriculars where it gives you like an advantage. You've already been in like the job system and you know how it works and you know how to work as a team sometimes or you know how to work under a boss. So those are some really good advantages that you have with your application. So yes, they count. Even if you do like art for commission, that technically counts too. So yep.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, next question.
So, my name is Sophie, and I'm not a student. I'm mom of Jordan. Austin knows Jordan. Hi, Austin. I do have a question about SAT. NC State is not requiring SAT scores this year again. But I've heard from so many people, even though they don't require SAT scores, it's still better to send SAT. But the thing is, to be honest, Jordan's SAT score is not exceptionally good, but it's not bad either. You know what I mean? It's pretty
Mm-hmm.
good, but it's not very, very good. So in this
Mm-hmm.
case, I really don't know whether I should send in SAT scores. What do you think? Because
So,
he's trying to major in engineering, and
mhm.
NC State engineering, they need high GPAs and high SAT scores, such as like 800 math SAT scores. So yeah, what do you think?
So, if it was maybe like 5 years ago, or maybe a couple, like even 2 years ago, I would say probably to submit your SAT score, and maybe do an SAT subject test. But unfortunately, they got rid of those. So SAT subject tests were used to show your like highlights of like what your talents are, but unfortunately they got rid of those. So in your case, I think if it's not exceptionally good or if it's not exceptionally bad, it really depends on what college you're trying to get into. So if it's NC State, I think you should be fine with because if it's not exceptionally bad or if it's like if I don't know if it's the right word to call it like average or maybe above average, that's totally fine. I would recommend sending it in because without sending it in, they don't really have much to try to like score you on. Because a lot of the students will send SAT tests regardless if it doesn't require. But in that case, if you cannot take another test, or if you would not like to take another test, maybe you would probably look for different areas that you can shine in. Just for example, extracurriculars. Like so, this is the kind of like the reason why. So after the pandemic, it's been harder and harder to take tests and it's been harder and harder to even do extracurricular activities. So I would recommend for him to, yeah, maybe send it in. But if there is a way to show your college that you excel in math, for example, so if you wanted to major in that field, then you could think of different ways to get creative on what kind of extracurriculars that you would like to show your college. So in that case, maybe look for online groups about being interested in that field or not. I'm not sure how many internships there are, but like available. But I know there's a lot of my students, or so I tutor on the side as well. So a lot of my students, they look for just like what we're doing, kind of like an online call, because they can't go in person, and sometimes that looks even worse because it just shows what kind of student you are, that you're not responsible. So a lot of things go into what you look like as a student. So maybe I would recommend like looking up or researching different ways that you can show different what you want to show to the college.
Okay, thank you.
All right, next person.
Me. let's talk about FAFSA.
Okay, got it.
I'm
Yes.
not quite sure what to do about the whole entire thing. Like, I've been on the website, but they have different deadlines as well as all this other information they're asking. So I'm not quite sure how to like approach that in the first place.
Okay, so I was so confused about the FAFSA. I don't know why they designed the website like that. It's so confusing. There's so many
It's
buttons and tabs.
awful.
I didn't know how to navigate it at all. But your best resource is your counselor, because their job is to memorize what that FAFSA website does. So that was my favorite resource, my counselor, and also my sister. But in your case, unfortunately, you don't have an older sister. So so I would use your counselor kind of like your older sister, or your older brother, who knows the application process inside and out, because that's their job. They need to know what that is. But from my experience, I don't know if the FAFSA website has changed at all or anything like that, but what I remember is it was like there's a different website called like FSA, like Federal Student Aid or something like that. It was I think it partnered in partnership with FAFSA, and basically the whole process is you can select whichever schools that you're applying to, and then once you send your FAFSA, so you gotta have I'm not so sure about taxes because I don't do my family's taxes, but like W-2 forms or whatever like tax forms or your family's salary, you gotta have all those documents in front of you, and make sure you input all the correct information, because if the college finds out that it's not correct, then you can possibly get in trouble for that. So you don't want to lie, basically, because it's not only like the college system, it's like a federal kind of systems programs, because it's like federal student aid. So I would make sure that nothing is like incorrect in terms of information that you input. Have those documents near you. If you need help with like taxes or your family salary or occupation in your family, I would ask your parents, because I didn't know exactly the statistics of my family salary or whatnot. So have your parents nearby, and I would recommend having your list of schools that you're applying to like already chosen, kind of, that makes sense, so you know which schools to send it to. So yeah, I think again, if you have like specific questions, I would definitely ask your counselor. And that's another reason why you should get to know your counselor better, because not only are they writing your recommendations, it's so important to know your counselor. I know so many students who don't know their counselor, and like by the time the deadline comes, November 1st comes for applications, they're freaking out because they didn't know that they needed a counselor recommendation for their particular school. They've only heard of like teacher recommendations, but for your school, they're going to have automatic appointments set up for you. So you don't rely on that automatic appointment, because it's only going to last 5 to 10 minutes. Set up your own appointments during like lunchtime, or not after school, because they have certain hours, maybe during a class time that isn't so important, because you don't really have much time to make appointments. So best time would be like lunchtime. Sacrifice your lunch a couple of times just so that you can, get to know your counselor better. If you bring gifts. That's what I did. I brought gifts to my counselor so that I could kind of butter up. But I got really close with my counselor, and she helped me throughout the entire process. And the reason why it's also so important is because she knows your name better, it stands out more, and she can prioritize your recommendations over everybody else's. So say, for example, there's like a deadline, and there's like a list of students she needs to do, and she's like, oh my God, I know Nicolette does it first. You know what I'm saying? So she knows who you are, and she prioritizes you over everybody else. So very important, yes. Okay.
All right, next person.
Can I go?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes.
So, to what extent does like early decision or early action make, and can it be like a decision changer for certain colleges?
Oh, that is a really good question. So, I would say it's pretty important. If there is a certain school that is more selective than others that you really want to attend, then I would recommend doing early action, restrictive early action, or early decision, really. So it does make a big difference. I remember when I was researching during my own college application, I was trying to figure out the same question. I was trying to think of to what extent early versus regular has. And I remember seeing this graph from like a renowned like college tutoring like program where it was like the acceptance percentage was increased by 20% in some schools for if you applied early. So for example, like let's say that your school has a 20% chance of like an acceptance rate, 20% chance. If you did it early, it would go up to like 40% chance of you getting in. So it really does help because it just shows how passionate and how much of a student you want to go there. So that's the reason why you're doing early, to show that you really want to go there. You don't care about any other school. You really want to go to this school because you think you're a great fit. So yeah. And then what was your second question?
Can it be like a decision changer? Like,
Oh, okay, yeah.
yeah.
So for early decision, technically it can't be a decision changer because you're binded, which means you must go to that school. So let's say that I am like the biggest Clemson fan. I know some huge Clemson fans. I don't know why they're such a big fan. Maybe, I don't know. I've never been, but they are decked out in orange and purple. They're a huge fan. They know that they're going to go there. They would bind to Clemson, go early decision, and let's say you were admitted, right, to that college. Now you have to go to that school, and you should be happy because you decided to bind to that school, right? Like it's for those like hardcore fans, or if it's like a really good school that you really want to go to, and if you got in, you'd be like, yep, I'm going there. That's the school you would do early decision for. So it's binding. You must go if you get in. So it sounds scary, and I personally didn't do it because I couldn't think of any colleges through my research that I would like have to go to. Like, what if I hated it? So, but if you were like a hardcore fan of a certain school, or if it's a really hard school that you're like, oh, I would love going there, I would recommend early decision. But for early action or restrictive early action, because it's non-binding, it can be a decision changer where you can get in, and maybe if you wanted to choose a different college, you can get into a different college. But if you're asking about if it's a decision changer for the admissions people, then also, like I said before, yes, it's a really big decision changer for them because it just shows how much you want to go to that college. So, yeah.
And there are two benefits for you to do it early, because one, you have more scholarships available, obviously, because if you're accepted, then you have more scholarships to choose from. And second is that now you can just be free on your second semester of senior year. You're like, okay, I already got it and I'm done. You don't have to worry about anything in your second half of senior year, if you're for sure about that school, like what Nicolette said. Okay.
Yeah, that's
another question.
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, that's kind of what I did. Where once I got into my school, like my college, right? I didn't totally let loose, but I kind of let loose. Like I had like AP exams coming up, and I studied for them, but maybe not as much as I did in junior year because I already knew I was going to college, and that didn't change. Like, you know what I mean? So, so you can let loose a little bit, and it was during the pandemic, so I really kind of let loose. But yeah, it could be helpful for that reason too.
All right. Do you guys have any other questions?
Can I ask one more question?
Sure.
Are you familiar with 504 plan?
504 plan? No, I'm not so sure what that is. 504 plan?
Yeah, it's a plan for students who has disabilities at school. So like all students are equal, or make them equal by
I see.
helping them out. My question was, is it wise to write about disabilities on the essay for college?
Okay, that's a really good question. So I think yes, it can be wise if you do it in a way that shows your uniqueness and how you're a good fit for this school. So I personally don't have a disability, but my brother does. And when I was writing my essay, I kind of had like a story in my mind already of how my brother helped me change my life or whatever, right? So as I was writing, I was researching how to write like good college essays, and I read one tip that said make sure what you write about is about you. So I realized after rereading my essay, it was more about my brother than it was about me. So instead, I decided to scrap that kind of, and I decided to write about myself and how I was able to, progress. So, but if your child or if you're whoever the student has a disability, then it could definitely be wise to write about that because it's a big I would say like obstacle to overcome and get used to. So it would be a good writing prompt. So yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And
Yeah, no
on
problem.
top of that, there are also some colleges out there who are really open and has really good programs for those who had IEP, in their careers or under 504 plan. So if you're looking for a school where um, if you have a child with those things applied to your child, then maybe you can look for schools that has really good system to it. Um, Maybe some schools they don't have anything really available for student under 504 plan, but some other schools they do have like buddy systems and really great professors who understands more about the students with 504 plan. So it is also better to search for those schools available out there.
Okay, thank you.
Right? And any other questions? Okay, then let me ask you this question. I have those questions from seniors a couple of days ago, and she was asking, where should I be in this application process as of now? I'm rising senior.
Okay, so if you're a rising senior, in the application process, I think you can start as soon as you want. I think most students do it once school year starts, though. I think I started around when school year started. As of right now, I'm guessing you guys are about to go to school, have in mind who you're going to ask teacher recommendations for. Make sure you get appointments with your counselor. Again, I want to really, really emphasize that. And but don't annoy them to death. Kind of, make it like a conversation kind of system going on. And hopefully you have your standardized test scores good and ready to go. But if not, it's okay. You can keep taking your tests. Let's see, extracurricular activities. You are allowed to start extracurricular activities even in senior year, but it would be better to see longevity in your extracurricular. So if you've been doing it for a while and you've become like a member of some council for your extracurricular, then it's really helpful as well. So and let's see, in terms of essays, it would be great to know what the prompts are from College Board. I think they release it on a certain date. Maybe it could be out now, but I remember for me, I was kind of lucky because the prompts were the same as the year before me, so I used to practice writing these college prompts from like years before. They're released college prompts, so I would just practice, and I already kind of knew what the college prompt was for the year before me, so I already had like ideas in my head about what essays to write about. But for essays, I would say just try to show who you are in a creative way. I know that there's a lot of like talk about essay, like certain students who write like ridiculous essays. I wouldn't go as far as to like writing about how, I don't know, like Costco made a difference on your life or something, because that's happened, and a lot of students have been admitted to school, but now a lot of students know, like a lot of admissions officers know what that storyline is already, so I wouldn't use that storyline, but still be as creative as possible. I've seen one that are like recipe of themselves. I've seen how like recipes using a recipe format of like how I got here, but keep in mind the word count, grammar check all the time, spelling check all the time, and try not to not sound like yourself. Don't use sophisticated words just because it's a college essay. You sound like yourself, but shine through what kind of student you can be at that college. And yeah, I think that's where you should be at your application process. You guys are still pretty early on. Technically, you haven't even started your application process, but but it's good to be early. It's really good to be early. So.
그 여동생 있어. 여동생이
Okay, let me go on to the next question. All right. And we're going towards like 7, so I'm gonna ask you maybe a couple more questions and then we wrap it up. So how did your Mira experience? You started Mira for 9 years, and how did that help you find your path?
So obviously, I said at the beginning that my intended major is psychology, and the reason is because I would mainly start it off with my brother and my mom. I didn't learn about Miras until like 4th grade when my brother started to attend Mira as one of the students there. And I remember thinking I was in 4th grade, I'm too young to help out, but one of the volunteers said I could like start helping out. And so since then I was helping out every single student at Mira. And this whole experience has helped me with my college application process because it's such a great extracurricular activity. Not is Mira all around like the U.S. It's a known nonprofit organization, and it's a really good way for you to stand out, because if you ask any of your fellow students if they do something similar to this, I would probably guess that they either do like helping out at a dog shelter or wash cars for volunteering, or bake cookies for a fundraiser. That's kind of things that you've heard of, that these admissions people have heard of already, but they haven't heard of helping out these disabled kids while spreading the gospel. So it kind of ticks off too. So it's like a religious like a way to show that you have a community in your religion and that you can help out disabled people as well. So it really helped me stand out in my college application process.
All right, thank you. Do you guys have any other questions? It's 7 right now, and if you don't have any questions, I'm gonna give you guys no. Last 3, 2, 1. Done. All right, but if you can come up with any other questions, just shoot me an email or just text me so I can, we will find out answers for you. And even though we are here to try to figure out how to get to college, but it's in my case, I didn't go to college right out of the high school. When I graduated from high school, I went to U.S. Marines, and I served Marines for 4 years, searching for my dreams, And then I went into mechanic. I love vehicles, so I thought, I might be really good fit for becoming a mechanic. So I did that for 3-4 years, and then I realized that even though I love cars so much, I'm not good at mechanical skills, and I don't like to be my hands dirty all the time. So I'm like, okay, now this one eliminated. So what's next? So in my 20s, I realized that I like to teach people. So I went to college. I went to college when I was in military too, but then I still went to college after my service, and then chose education as my major. So my major was education, and I thought that was really a good decision for me. So I know you guys are 18, 16, 15. Our dream changes all the time, and maybe when you were in elementary school, you want to be doctor, and then, in middle school, then you want to be a dancer, and in high school, you want to be something else, So we change all the time. So I just don't want you guys to be so stressed out about the major, even though it is good, so much better if you know what to do for your next step. And you have so much benefits, but if you don't have one, it is okay. You can take a gap year off after high school and just searching around, take some, job opportunities in Charlotte or in US, or go outside of the country and, travel around and see, what you like the most. Or you can just go to community college. It's not a bad idea. I went to community college for several years before I transferred to university. So, I know it is really hard for you guys to think about the college and all that, but I hope this time help you navigating your future. And if you have any questions, I'm already here for you, and just, let me know, and I'll be praying for you. And Nicolette will be leaving Charlotte soon, but then I know even though she's in California, she's still gonna, she's still part of Mirar. She's one of the best alumni for Mirar community, so she's gonna be there for us. And if you go to, UC Berkeley, I'm pretty sure she's gonna buy you lunch and dinner all the time and take you on the tour. And
Yeah.
right, Nicolette? I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
I'm
definitely.
pretty sure she's gonna do it. She's really generous and nice in general. But I hope you guys enjoy the time, and thank you guys for joining us. And let me just wrap it up with a prayer, and let's get it done with today's seminar. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for this time to get together, to share some time to think about our future, Lord. Even though we try so hard, Lord, it is sometimes so hard for us to understand who we are and where we should be. But Lord, you are the creator of the universe, and you know what's best for us. So please help our students guide their life. And even if there's any mistakes they'll make, Lord, please lift them up and help them guide through their life, Lord. And Lord, we thank you again for this time to share our life together, and bless our students. And I pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
All right. Once again, thank you so much, Nicolette, for sharing your experience and this seminar. And thank you guys for joining us. And I hope you guys could have good rest of maybe 4 or 5 days of summer vacation. And
Yeah.
see you
Good luck,
guys in a few
everybody.
weeks.